So I'm just jumping right in here. In Mike's most recent video, he posited initially the question, what are you? And it's a good question. It's a question I think everyone asks. And my first answer is, well, you're pretty much nothing. You're a giant vat of chemistry and chemicals, and you're a carbon, water, basically computer with some machinery that does stuff, and then you stop. Um, I think a better answer to summarize all of that is you are alive. You are alive, you can store information, store energy, use that information and use that energy to make actions to sustain oneself and that whole homeostasis thing. But even that isn't really a definition for alive. So what is alive? And I ask you, if I were to ask you, I think any person would come up with a different answer for what alive means. And I think every answer is kind of right and kind of wrong. Um, and and I guess what I was supposed to talk about before I started rambling was this here plant, and I have a few other plants. You can tell it's getting kind of wilted. This is basil. This is oregano. Or, yeah, oregano. I had parsley, and I had a couple other things. I grew them from seeds, tiny little seeds, and let me tell you, it was a remarkable experience, honestly, growing these plants from seeds, watching them germinate, caring for them, picking off the excess leaves, pruning them, eating them when they got big enough, and now they're dry, they're dying. I've clipped off the leaves; they're as far as they can go, um, and and now sort of as I sit here and I look at them, and this was, I guess I should have started with this one. This was my pride. This is the tallest plant I have. it I feel kinship with this plant, I guess, is the roundabout way of saying what I'm trying to say. Because it, like me, is made mostly of carbon and water and nitrogen. It, like me, breathes the air around me and needs nutrients, and particularly water, to survive. Now, I have been depriving these plants of water partially because I'm lazy, partially because I forget. And I think yesterday I thought about watering them and I kind of didn't because they're old. The leaves have kind of gone sour already. Once it starts flowering, and it's flowered many times, and I've cut the flowers, the whole plant starts to decay, and its time is up. Um, like I could sustain it for a little while longer by giving it more water, but by and large it's done, you know? And then shortly before long, all those leaves will have dried, no matter what I do, whether I continue to give it water or not. The leaves will dry, the stems will fail, the plant will be no more. All structure and all organization will fail, and to dust it will return. And like I sort of said, I feel kinship with this plant. I identify with these plants that I have raised from children, from a seed. And I guess that's kind of bleak. A lot of people would view that as kind of bleak, I think, or sad, or tragic, or hopeless, or pointless. But I find it beautiful because while this plant was living, it provided me joy, it provided me sustenance, it provided me a smell that, oh man, I love basil. My whole house would smell like it. And that's the value that that plant held. And similarly, though we all die, the value that we hold is the impact that we have, the influence, the change that we make. And yes, all that we are is the nutrients, the water, and the carbon that make us up. That may be all that we are, but our value is something far greater. And that is beautiful. I'm going to tag out just because I wanted to throw this line in. Death is pretty terrible, but I try not to fear death, because the only thing death means is that you are alive in the first place, and life, though tenuous, is beautiful. Thank you, and good night.